I'm Jared Keever. I'm a reporter with the St. Augustine Record. Now I cover crime and police beat and the courthouse. Talk about the Louis Toledo trial. I was in on discussions with the 7th Judicial Circuit as it pertains to courtroom access, and a lot of that all came up because of the Toledo case and how busy they knew the courtroom was going to be. Generally, the courts, at least the courts in St. Johns County, and I don't deal with the federal courts in Jacksonville that often, are pretty open. I have pretty easy access to the courthouse and to the courtrooms. With Louis Toledo, there was concerns about how many cameras were going to be in the courtroom. You can't have 8 TV cameras strung across the back of the courtroom. So what they did with that was the woman who handles media relations for the 7th Circuit hosted a conference call with all the reporters that were interested and wanted their input, because they were revising their guidelines on top of how they were going to handle the Toledo case, because they knew that it was time to revise the guidelines. I don't know that I'd change much, but again, I only work in the 7th Judicial Circuit, and for the most part I only work in St. Johns County. There's only 4 circuit judges in the county. I know all of them. They know me. Some of them know me fairly well. Some of them at least know me by sight. So I don't have any problem. I do carry a press credential that comes from the sheriff's office. I never flash it. Occasionally, if it's a new bailiff and they don't know me and I know that there's going to be that, I'll put it on my belt so they can see it and they know that I'm legitimate, and they just let me in. There are crowding issues that they sometimes have to deal with, so you have to work with them. As a member of the press, you get a little bit of a latitude as far as getting in and stuff. I do view the public's access to the courtroom as a right, and I don't see how it infringes on someone's right to a fair trial. I have not firsthand. I have heard of examples and concerns, which I can talk about if you'd like me to, but I've never seen it impact a case negatively. There are instances where, especially at a sentencing, when somebody's possibly going to get sent to prison for a long time, and there's the victims' families are in the courtroom and the defendants' families in the courtroom, the judge will, and they don't often, make any statement about cell phones or anything. Sometimes the judge will send a message out through the bailiff who will say, everybody make sure their phones are turned off. No photography, no video, no nothing. Turn it off. That's more for the public and not for the press. With the Toledo trial, I will say that during the conference calls that I was a part of, there was concern about people because there was some talk about Toledo being a former gang member, and people who testified, and jurors specifically. There was some concern about their safety if people were in the courtroom taking pictures of jurors. So there was, I don't remember how they ever handled it, but there was discussion about holding up a phone camera and snapping pictures during the court proceedings. But that was both juror and defendant safety, as well as the judge in that case, which was Judge Zambrano. He didn't want a lot of people holding phones up during court. He was trying to keep it pretty calm and pretty tame in the courtroom. So the reason they change venues in a case like that is because oftentimes what is reported is stuff that may not make it into court, and so you can argue that that's negative or positive. What the court determines is whether or not it's prejudicial to the defendant. So in the Volusia County case, in the Toledo case, there was a lot of talk about him being a former gang member, and probably there was some coverage about past convictions and that sort of stuff, and a lot of that doesn't make it into the guilt phase of a trial. So, just especially because they were seeking the death penalty, I think out of an abundance of caution, the judge moved it to a different venue.